Hi everyone. So unfortunately Batman Arkham Knight's patch has been released, and it's basically a great big letdown. How did we know that was going to be the case? Well, essentially because the engine is the problem here. Now, essentially Warner Bros. Has taken around 2 months after failing miserably to launch their PC version of the game that wasn't a trading standards offence. They have now come back with an interim patch to fix performance. But unfortunately, I don't know who they fixed performance for, but all they've really managed to do is to widen the gap on the wandering frame rate. Now, you might remember I mentioned in my videos looking at Batman Arkham Knight's technical problems that the frame rate is not only inconsistent, but it wanders wildly up and down the scale. Anything above 30 frames a second, and it simply will not lock stably at all. So effectively what you have is, say, a 40 frames a second presentation wandering up to 60 frames a second, or 55 frames a second wandering down to 35. It continuously wanders around, never managing to find a stable point. Now, to contrast this, we've got something like Metal Gear Phantom Pain, a game that is also very dark, has a stealthy element to it, lots of bright light effects at just those right key moments. That runs beautifully solid at 60 frames a second on this rig. Likewise, a game like Witcher 3, which isn't the best when it comes to frame rates, I still achieve a solid 55 frames a second. So here we have a game which has now gone through drastic patchwork to try and get the frame rate up to what was advertised by Nvidia, a 60 frames a second presentation, and ultimately it still fails miserably. Now, part of this comes down to the way the engine itself appears to be operating. It simply isn't capable of running above 30 frames a second without hitting large bottlenecks. Now, specifically I've noticed within the AI, when you actually get into a fight in the street and you're bouncing around hitting these thugs, the frame rate for every thug that hits the ground starts going up. So as you incapacitate them and you knock out their AI routines, essentially the frame rate starts to improve. Now, what on earth is bottlenecking within this engine that at Core i7 at 3.8 GHz is effectively hitting a brick wall? But also likewise, when we look at the level of detail going on within Batman, in actual fact, I think it's probably a damn sight too high, really, for what they were trying to do in this engine. Continuously, the frame rate wanders around as you're moving around a scene, just spinning the camera, let alone driving the Batmobile. It's continuously fluctuating up and down, never stable above 30 frames a second. Literally, this game is not optimised to work above 30 frames a second, and I don't think, whatever the game developers do, they're going to make a blind bit of difference to that. The engine is the bottleneck here. For whatever reason, it is just too resource hungry for the average systems out there. Now, I don't think my PC is the fastest PC ever built, but it's certainly no slouch either, and it's designed to eliminate bottlenecks. It's a Core i7 running at 3.8 GHz. It has 16 gig of RAM clocked at 1800 Hz. We've got a GeForce 770 GPU backed up by SSD drives. There is no bottleneck here necessarily, other than the ones the developers have ended up putting into the engine itself. As I say, Grand Theft Auto 5, 60 frames a second solid. Metal Gear Phantom Pain, 60 frames a second solid. Witcher 3, 55 frames a second solid. There is something wrong with Batman Arkham Knight on PC, and it isn't going to be fixed with patching, guys. Honestly, this thing is still a trading standards offence. We were sold a game that can run at 60 frames a second. Heck, if they'd just delivered something that was stable at 45 frames a second, I think I could give this game a pass, because at least they would have had something that was playable. This is not a playable game. It is completely unplayable, kludgy mess, unfortunately. So, do let me know how you're getting on with the latest Batman patch. It'll be interesting to see if your specs are giving you a better performance here. Maybe SLI users will find this game runs much better than we're finding on single GPUs. But I doubt it, I'm afraid, because it's the engine that's bottlenecking us here, not our hardware.